All right, welcome to the Habitat demos for the week of April 28th. We've got a couple things in store for you around the upcoming build service and some supervisor work. You want to take it, Chris?
Yeah, so we've been doing a bunch of work lately to start to build out the user experience of both the Habitat Depot and the Habitat documentation site. So I have just a few things to show about what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks as the first steps in that effort. So I will share. I'll do this here. Okay. You all see things? Yeah.
Sure can.
Okay, cool. The first thing we did was upgrade the Builder Web, which is the web front end for the Habitat build service to Angular 4. It had been kind of sitting on a release candidate version for a while, so we wanted to bring that current. A little bit of work had to do to kind of shore that thing up to bring it current, but that's done. So that was the first little bit we did. We also added support for the Angular style guide. It's just kind of for those who are interested in working on the build service UI. It's written in Angular, so this document kind of helps you follow some common coding conventions for Angular. We're just starting to follow this ourselves, but the linter that we added should add support for kind of help us adhere to some of the conventions here. Like for example, if I'm coding up a component and I fail to name it in the right way, I'll get a little nag here in my IDE, and in this it'll tell me that, hey, you gotta add a component suffix to your component in order to get that to work. So that should help a little bit. We added as well, replaced a bunch of like failing end-to-end tests with Angular unit tests, which are much faster and don't have quite the level of coverage that Protractor, Selenium-driven end-to-end tests have, but most of it is there, and they run a lot faster and are more reliable. We've had some not so great experiences with the Protractor tests, so this is an improvement to the testing stuff, and we added a whole bunch of new tests as well. We introduced a new color palette, so this is kind of what you see in the Depot service, the build service UI today. We added just a darker palette. Not too much more to be seen here yet, but the design team is working on a bunch of great design enhancements that are going to start to be woven into this over the next few weeks. And as well, we added a new view for signed out visitors to the Depot that just does a better job of like introducing you to Habitat and kind of getting you to the right places. So you can kind of scroll through this and kind of see what appeals to you and hopefully end up in a more useful place. And it'll do things like give you an indication of popular packages, top packages. This is canned data for now, but we do have some build service stats that we were able to bring in that are actually real data. So if I were to submit like a request to build one of my packages, for example, I've just submitted this to my locally running scheduler. I can reload and see that number 11 change to something other than 11, hopefully 12. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, and this is also, we're trying to focus on a little bit more responsive design and such, so this will kind of travel along with you no matter where your screen happens to be. Yeah, so there's a bunch of other stuff going on, but that's what I have for today.
Excellent work, man. It's awesome to see this coming together. This is, the front end is the last thing that we focused on. We've got an amazing amount of improvements in the back end that we can't wait to show you, but that front end has to be attached to it. So, okay. Salim, how about you?
Sure, yeah, let me quick share my screen. And okay, so this demo is going to be short and sweet. It's a demo of improvement we made on the builder services. And the scenario here is when we upload packages to the Depot. What we want to see happening here is because we run multiple microservices in the background, we want to be able to synchronize the package upload from the Depot database to the scheduler database, because that's how we keep the global index for the reverse dependencies. So if you look at the top right window, I'm connected to the builder scheduler database. I look at the packages there. There's a couple of packages that are up there that I've uploaded in the past. And what I'm going to do now is, if you look at the bottom right window, I'm going to upload a new package that I built. So I'm going to do this HAB package upload. I'm going to select this guy. It's I think it's 2928. Which one is it? It's 28. I'm not seeing the right thing here. Build it. Okay, so let me just try this one and see what happens. This is okay. No, unfortunately, this one already exists. So I did build it. So let me try this again. Let's do 814. Why is it not? This maybe I'm just going to select this for some reason. I think this is the one. Okay, there we go. So it uploaded that now. You can see there's stuff happening on the left-hand side window. I'm going to just scroll up and show what's happened here. This text in white is kind of the interesting part because that's where the origin server is basically sending data to the scheduler. You can see the scheduler has received a package create message from the origin server, and then it's added that to the packages list. And in addition to that, it's also extended what we call the package graph, so it has that data available to it. And so if I go up here now and I do a select from packages, there's 3 packages up there. So that's basically demonstrated how the origin server on upload is able to synchronize these packages to the scheduler service. There's stuff behind the covers happening. If, for example, the scheduler service was not available, this was shut down, it would still continue retrying. So there's a reliability mechanism that's built in here as well. But anyway, that's the demo.
Perfect, man. Just one more step towards getting those upside down builds done.
Yep.
All right. And Matt, get some work with the studio done.
Yeah, so let me share my screen. And okay, so what we did, we're working on kind of some quality of life improvements to the supervisor. And one thing that's here, let me minimize that. One thing that's tricky or has been tricky is debugging services and just developing services inside of a studio, especially now that we have multi-service support in the supervisor. If you want to, when you start up the supervisor, basically it hogs your shell. And so if you want to have multiple services running in your supervisor, you have to start up at least, and you're doing this inside of the studio, you have to have at least 2 instances of that studio. It's just awkward. So what we've done to improve that workflow, let me demonstrate just by opening up a shell here. So this is just bringing up the Docker Studio, and you can see that what we do, first of all, is we tell you what we've done. And what we've done is we've started a supervisor that's running in the background. So there's actually a supervisor running inside of the studio, but it's in the background. So it's not hogging up your shell. You can do stuff. I can start and load services. I can stop them. But obviously, you want to actually get some feedback. So what we're doing is we run it in the background and we pipe the output to a file. Now you can certainly view that file on your own, but to make it easy for you, we've added a command called slog, or you can think of that as basically the supervisor log. So if I run that just now, I'm not going to see a whole lot, but I am going to see something. I'm basically going to see the output that we generate for when the supervisor starts. And essentially what this slog command does, it streams the tail of the output. So I can as output is added, as the supervisor is doing stuff, that should show up, and I can just Control C out of this to actually do stuff. And so I could let me actually do something. So I'll start a service. We'll say MySQL. So I'm going to start MySQL, and as we would expect, with a multi-supervisor scenario with a supervisor that's already running, basically nothing happens. We do have some work planned to actually add some output here, but at any rate, but you're wondering, well, what's happening and how can I check out what's happening? So we'll just go back to slog, and now you can see. Here it comes. This is the streaming. It's down because it's a fresh studio. It doesn't have MySQL, so it's grabbing MySQL. It's grabbing its dependencies. It's going to start that, and as long as I have this up, I'm going to I'll see what the supervisor is doing, but I can easily exit out of this. I can add more services, and let's always go back to that. So it provides a nice some nice improvements around workflow, debugging and developing services inside of the studio. That's it.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, that works. So what's huge about it is by starting that supervisor in the background, you can start and stop transient services, and you can also pass the config from flag to start. A thing that you might have noticed is that we've added a load and an unload command, and they do not support the config from flag. That's because those are for loading permanent services. That's for production stuff. So by starting the supervisor in the background, and then the flow that we're looking for people to be doing if they're in an interactive studio is to be building a package out, starting it, checking the log, seeing if things work the way they wanted it to, stopping it, and starting it with the config from flag as they manipulate the configuration artifacts of the plan. So that's hopefully the flow that we're going to get from this. Okay, I think that is the last of what we have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next Friday. See you guys.